Welcome back to MagusintheMedia. Hello, everyone, on this fine Thursday, the day of Thor, as we bring the lightning down on everything that is going on in this current day and age. And if you watched, we are moving forward to part 2 from part 1 of the MKUltra hearings. Today, we're going to talk about this 21st century version of MKUltra, but you know, for anybody just joining us that didn't catch last time's show yesterday, let me catch you up a little bit. I'm gonna break it down because today we build straight off of what happened yesterday during our breakdown of these MKUltra hearings in Congress. So, a few days ago, Congress held a hearing on MKUltra. Anna Paulina Luna organizing it. She's running the task force on declassifying old governmental secrets. Interesting enough. Dude, I'm always wondering, does any of these declassifications actually ever matter? I think they do because they bring things to the forefront that then we, as our own researchers, studiers, and sovereign magicians, as we're continually trying to bring up, it's important because we're bringing it to the consciousness and to our awareness. And whatever you think about her politics, that's not really what the point of this is all about. The point is who she's putting in that room. Two men who spent decades in this material. Stephen Kinzer, historian, who wrote Poisoner in Chief about Sidney Gottlieb, the guy who actually ran this program day to day. The Sidney Gottlieb, that is. And Tom O'Neill. If you haven't read his book, Chaos, please go out and buy it right now. He's an investigative journalist, 20 years chasing down this book I'm just talking about, Chaos, which ties this whole thing straight into Charles Manson. Well, we'll get there. So most people hear MKUltra and their brains go straight to some kind of Cold War rumor. CIA slipping up and slipping acid into people's coffees and drinks, and a cute little conspiracy footnotes that we are just like, all you conspiracy theorists out there. But we are vindicated. That's not what this actually was. 20 years, American soil, taxpayer money authorized from the very top of intelligence apparatuses. LSD, electroshock, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, psychological torture on citizens, prisoners, hospital patients, and people who never actually said yes to any of it. 149 sub-projects of MKUltra, 80 plus institutions, almost 200 outside researchers. This wasn't just so everybody knows, this wasn't just some like rogue, like lab coat scientist situation. This was coordinated at the highest levels all the way down. This was sustained by them, and then it was hidden on purpose. So today, we're going to talk about just that. And before I continue recapping what happened yesterday, my co-host, the brilliant, the lovely Cardinal Electric Head, Nick, the creator and discoverer of the Occult Rejects. Thank you for joining me. How are you?
Thank you, man. I appreciate coming on. I always love doing this. I'm doing well, though. Doing very well. Can't complain. So
good. What are you thinking about all this nonsense nonsense as in all this fucking crazy shit that's going on in our world?
I think it's, something you had said earlier where you're like, does it always mean anything when these files are dropped or when stuff is disclosed? I think a lot of times it does, but I think people end up focusing on the wrong shit.
Yeah.
So, like, I think if you start looking at the bigger picture on this stuff, I think that's where you really see, like, what the fuck? But I do think, like, a lot of this stuff, except for, like, I guess, maybe the drugs. I mean, magicians use drugs too, though. But maybe besides the drugs and like, certain abuse or whatever, or certain things, there's a lot of shit that I think that is done that is very occult-like.
Yeah.
With the hypnosis and stuff like that. Getting people to believe certain things or act certain ways. I think that all teeters kind of like magic in the occult in a negative sense, Right. Or it's kind of like taking what I think the ritual is supposed to be doing to the practitioner and doing it towards a subject who is unwilling and unknowing. Yeah. And it's not really an initiation for them. They're not supposed to come out a better person. You're just manipulating this nervous system.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. One of the 2 rules that Timothy Leary came up with while he was doing his LSD experiments on prisoners, which he was doing, but they were supposedly willing, and they signed contracts. And interesting enough, a lot of these you can go find in his work. He actually was able to cure prisoners because of, as you and I both know, once you go into federal prison in most jails, you don't come out. Even if you come out, you go right back in.
Oh, the recidivism rate in the feds is ridiculous. Yeah. Dude, I was in there with people who were already talking about the next crime they were going to do.
What the fuck?
I was like, motherfucker, you didn't even get out yet, and you're in here for 5 years, and you're already, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And a lot of people are learning more crimes in prison so they can do them better when they're out.
Dude, yo, there was a kid that I was locked up with that got arrested for guns, and he was like asking me because he found out I was locked up for steroids. This kid had taken a class in prison so he can understand chemistry better because he had this idea he was going to make steroids when he got out.
Wild.
Yeah. And so when he met me, he was like, oh, this is great. He started asking me all the questions, shit and how I was doing it, this and that. But I was just like, this is a kid who came in here for guns, and somehow on his own, he had the idea, I'm going to start selling steroids.
Wow.
When I get out.
Yeah. Well, so there's that. I
even spoke to the kid after the fact, and he asked me if I'd start brewing for him. I was like, motherfucker, no.
Wow.
I was like, I'm good on that shit.
You're like, I think I'll find it.
It was only 2 years. That was long enough.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Fucking any time in that is long enough.
But happy not walking around with hundreds of pedophiles at my own house. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly. I know.
Fucking whacked.
That is fucking whack. That's crazy. Well, what Leary said, interesting enough, was that you shouldn't change the consciousness of anybody else unwillingly. That's not okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, especially in these, from the 60s and 70s of the hippie revolution, right? Which really wasn't a revolution, not an organic one at that. That no one should change your consciousness unwillingly, nor should you change anyone else's unwillingly. And this is, I think, a very universal principle of all these things, which is why then something like the Freemasons, they don't recruit. You go to them. So that is like you signing a tacit agreement that it is okay for what to happen in these rituals, which I think I'm a proponent of the Masons, as in I'm not one, but I think those rituals are very helpful to men who are looking for, other men to join so we can chat. I feel like we're lost in that, and I think that's really important.
One thing I did want to say too. I don't remember exactly what you just said now that made me think of it because I looked in the chat and saw something. Yeah, I lost my train of thought, but I remember what I wanted to say. I think it has to do with with like stuff affecting your body or people affecting you, and you should know. I even think this is my experience. I don't know if other people or in other secret societies or whatever orders, if anybody listening has done initiations. I don't know about you, but I had to sign a bunch of paperwork.
Yeah.
Because you're like basically waving off if anything happens, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, my opinion is that all there because they know they are kind of like doing something to you?
I think so.
I think so. Or at least somebody who wrote out that shit up maybe knew, maybe not the people who are actually doing it. But I almost feel like they know that they're kind of affecting you and they don't want to have any responsibility for it if it doesn't go right.
No, and I think that's also important to know is, I completely agree.
I say, I had to sign a bunch of shit that basically made them not liable, and I understood everything that was going to happen to me.
Yeah, I mean, I make people sign training with me. Something is simple as that, it's like, and I'm not changing any, well, I am, but it's just martial arts and all these things because you just never know. And so I think it's an important thing. And that goes back to what we're talking about today is that these people no one signed anything. They have been stealing people off the streets and working on them. They've been with Project Climax, Operation Climax. They were slipping, what are they called, Johns? They've been slipping Johns LSD, and they're making hookers and prostitutes, ladies of the night, working for them, as they're then seeing what this substance was doing to their chemistry, and then probably following them afterwards to see what was going on in the real world.
There was something I saw. I don't know if this person was like talking smack or whatever, but they were talking about that operation, and they were saying that something supposedly came out to where. Wasn't just the Johns. I wish I could remember because when I heard it, I was like, God damn, that's actually pretty impressive. But that whole situation was actually like a lot like they were studying a lot more of like I think of the whole situation. There was something else besides whatever the John said that was attached to what they were looking to get out of that. And so, I mean, that project wasn't just about those dudes running their mouths. There was actually other things. I wish I remembered what it was because it's kind of pointless to bring it up.
Yeah, no, but they were studying a lot of things.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. And it goes back to exactly of like, why does this have to do anything with magic, the occult, myth, or meaning? And it has a lot of that to do with, because everything that they, like we talked about last show, everything that they're doing in MKUltra and all their sub-projects, 150 sub-projects of MKUltra, everything that led into it, Project Bluebird, Artichoke, and everything with that, they are the dark sorcerers that are manipulating people's consciousnesses and nervous systems to then, as Gottlieb said and Jolly West themselves, we are manipulating their consciousness. We are destroying their old memories and personas and re-imprinting them with what we want them to do. That doesn't sound like dark sorcery and black magic. I don't know what does.
Yeah, sounds like propaganda.
And then not getting any jail time. I'm going to read here in just a second from my notes. We see that Gottlieb himself wrote poetry, lived at his cabin, did nothing. Jolly West died a peaceful life, supposedly. These people got no jail time. And these people are offshoots of the Nazis of that time frame as they're working in consort together. And then these things never ended, right? That's what's so fascinating about watching X and Instagram and all the social medias and people being all like, did this ever end? That's the question. And I'm all like, these are all news stations. And I'm all like, interesting. I'm gonna play a clip here in just a second. Did this ever end? And it's like, well, of course it didn't. Our entire civilization is now built up off of what MKUltra did and their experiments.
Oh, for sure.
So it's fascinating. So just to give everybody a nice little recap of what we talked about last show, just so you know. So most people hear MKUltra and their brain kind of, again, goes to the Cold War, CIA, LSD experiments, but it's much more than that. This was hidden away on purpose. And when it ended in 1973, the men running it actually didn't come forward. They committed another crime. In 1973, Richard Helms, on his way out the door as CIA director, personally orders the records to be destroyed. 4 people spend a full day burning hundreds. 150 files. 152 files they burned.
Yeah, you know how much time we'd get for that, for destroying evidence?
You know how much time these people are going to get that climb the Empire State Building, and yet Dr. Fauci still walks around to this fucking planet?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Is that crazy?
I was in the wrong thing. Instead of steroids, I should have been doing MKUltra. I would have got no joke.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of like trying to help people look good and feel cool.
Yeah. I should have been shattering their psyche.
Oh, that's hilarious. So Gottlieb has his own secretary destroy his personal papers as well. Siegfried Gottlieb. And the head of the CIA's own record center writes up protest and gets overruled anyway. So here's what happens to these 2 men. Helms gets $2,000 fine for lying to Congress about something unrelated, keeps his pension till the day he dies. Gottlieb goes and lives a quiet life in rural Virginia and writes poetry. Neither one sees a day in prison. None of those victims ever get compensated for anything that's happened to them. And the only reason we even know about what is basically an accident, some archivist in 1977 process a FOIA request, stumbles onto 7 boxes of financial records that goes misfiled and missed the fire. They didn't get burnt. Thank God, because without those boxes, the whole thing stays a rumor forever, which is exactly what Helms and Gottlieb wanted. So now let's sit with Gottlieb for a second, because you got to understand this man to understand what we're going to listen to. Everything else. Kinzer said it's plain as day in his testimony. Gottlieb's actual beliefs, in his own words from the record, was that to implant a new mind into somebody, first you have to destroy the mind that was already there. Let's sit with that for a second. That sounds like alchemy, actually, right? The negredo, to burn things away, to rebuild from there. But in the negredo, in actual alchemy, we're not burning all things away. You're only burning away the dead ash, that leaden part of the animal desire, all these gross things. We want that to go away so we can then coagulate sulfate, build it back up through the rubedo, the whitening, and then, you know, the yellowing and all that. And I think it's fascinating. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what I wanted to ask? But
Yeah.
I don't want to. I always feel like iffy when you get on this shit because I feel like this stuff does exist, but I feel like it gets so blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
Do you think like some forms of SRA might have been used in MKUltra?
Thank you. I am so happy you brought that up because I've been thinking of that about that exact thing about like where did it
and trauma and shattering it.
Yes, and I think that's exactly one of the tools to this day that is the SSRIs are being used in consort with the algorithms, the propaganda that's being spewed through our phones, the putting people's in vulnerable states, the drinking water turning the frogs gay, and you know, everything that's going on. I think it's leading to in all of the red 40, blue 5, yellow 6, all of the hormone disruptors in our tap water, everything that's going on, I think leads to then this demonic egregore thing that's connecting this parasite in possession that connects to people, puts them in this NPC-like state, right? Adderall, I think, does a very similar thing. And then, you know, and especially, you know, you and I are both cannabis users, but the idea is that now you add all these things and now give somebody cannabis or any other drugs that is now trying to sedate and or get them out of their everyday experience, because cannabis is a psychedelic at high dosages. I think then you get the direct proponent for a Manchurian candidate, an assassin without their knowledge. So
no,
yeah,
I thought that too. Like, and when I say SRA, for me, I'm not necessarily meaning it's like somebody's invoking like Beelzebub, you know, or Asmodeus and some shit, and like, you know, trying to put a demon in someone's head.
No,
I'm just saying like either abused sexually or like kind of like, I don't know. I could see being like, you want to use the word satanic. I just, that could be so many things I think that you could be doing to somebody that I would consider satanic. You know?
Yeah. Nice. Okay. That's interesting. So
forms of abuse.
Yeah. No, I agree. I do agree. And interesting enough, I even switched it when you said it. So I thought you said SSRI. So I was thinking, the pharmaceutical drugs that are changing people's
hormones.
Heard
you say SSRI, and I was like, oh man, putting those together would be.
But now this is adding to the melting pot, because then you get exactly what you're talking about. And again, I want everybody, before we even get to this, is why we're laying this out so finely, is because this is all doing exactly what in Prometheus Rising, Robert Anton Wilson is talking about in Timothy Leary's work in consort with John C. Lilly and his the human biocomputer and the 8 circuits of consciousness, is that LSD being a neuroprogramming drug, put your limbic system, put your nervous system into an imprint vulnerable state, so then you can re-imprint somebody the way you want them to, which is then why I think, again, people are going to hate this maybe in the new age spiritual psychedelic communities, but I think microdosing is wrong.
I agree actually with that too.
Yeah, I think it's wrong.
Very slippery slope. I think you can find putting yourself in some fantasy world.
Yep. Fantasy world. Or now you're doing it for business. All of a sudden, are you microdosing for your business? Are you bringing more consumer capitalism? Make sure you take Sam Harris's meditation. He's really getting us there. Sam Harris, the new atheist who fucking loves Israel and thinks Palestine's not a state. This fucking poofter who doesn't believe in an afterlife or any of the occult mystical stuff writes a meditation app and is now pushing propaganda for whoever. That's not the point about Sam Harris. The point is this corporate, capitalistic, consumer, psychedelic, new agey nonsense thing where everyone is, you know, if you don't have, as you can see in my room, in my office, I put signs and symbols and books and all these things, and I wear a cross as well as my runes, because I have a mixture of, I'm trying to remind myself of something. The cross isn't just a Christian mythos. The cross is a mythos throughout all time. I also, being a ceremonial magician, am continually invoking the Kabbalistic cross. Why? Because I'm trying to remind myself, the Yachida, that I'm trying to expand that holy guardian angel to unite with it, because what am I doing otherwise?
I mean, that's the whole goal of the magician.
Whole goal of the magician.
It's supposed to be. I don't think most people even know that.
They don't.
I'm not saying that. You're not even saying occultists, like, you know, either conspiracy theorists or people just getting into it. That is like, that's right. You know, like, somebody like making a sigil to get at their neighbor because they pissed them off is just like, that's totally foreign from what I thought it was about, completely different. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah. And so it's just interesting. It's like, and everyone's symbols are to their own, just like Crowley states in 777 or in our I Ching, the Book of Changes. These are correspondences that, many people have walked the path of the unconscious into the dark shadows of the night and looked and came back and shown us things. And so there are connections and correspondences in these things that are we all should use, because that's the objective ground that we're working with of truth. But then you're supposed to do it yourself, make your own, but you don't need to tell anybody. So these signs and symbols and stories and mythos, these are mine. And I'm here also with MagusintheMedia as the Occult Rejects are, Nick, with what Nick is doing, is that we're here to just make sure that you don't need to be brainwashed by the dark sorcerers, and you don't need to placate to individuals you may not agree with, because it's in the nuance is where we find the true magic of all things. And if you're not, as we said before, if you're not in control of your nervous system, somebody else is.
Oh yeah.
So, right, it's like it's a fascinating thing. So let's continue with what we figured out last time. So this is what we figured out last time. Kinzer brought up something else worth chewing on. Gottlieb didn't come up through the same pipeline as every other senior CIA officer of that era, the prep schools and the Ivy League schools and the yacht clubs and all these guys. They came from the silver spoon mold. Gottlieb was the son of an Orthodox Jewish refugee. He had a limp, he had a stutter, and Kinzer floats at the idea maybe that this wasn't an accident at all, that maybe the agency knew from day one that whoever held his job was going to do terrible things, and they wanted a smoking gun. They wanted somebody else that they could hang it all on, who never really is one of their own. Gottlieb becomes this guy, everything gets pinned on, and the institution stays clean. From there, we jump into O'Neill's world, and this starts somewhere completely different. So Tom O'Neill, and it ends up right back in the same place. Interesting enough, 1999, he takes a magazine assignment to write about Manson's murders, Charles Manson and his murders. One question just will not let him go. How does a barely literate ex-con hippie get ordinary kids to murder strangers just because he told them to? Great question. The question eventually walks him straight to Dr. Louis Jolyon West. Jolly to his friends. Crazy name for a man who committed so many horrendous acts. And O'Neill finds out that in 1967, the exact year Manson turns into the cult leader that we know today, West has set up a research operation at San Francisco clinic. And Manson's own followers are getting free medical care at the same clinic, the same year, in the same place. Isn't that interesting, Nick?
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And yet so fascinating is that through all these years, it's just like, MKUltra, you're a crazy person for believing any of this. Charles Manson, he was just a lone nut.
Yeah. Sometimes, I guess maybe this is when the conspiracy theorist comes in, but I even question if the motherfucker ever even went to jail.
Oh.
I just think they just brought him in for when they act silly, put you on the screen.
Yeah, and who knows how long the re-imprinting and the different experiments they do with people actually last and hold. So I consider each nervous system, each body being in the world, each person here has their own, the mind fights back, as we know. And memories start, we've seen all the movies where the memories, right? What is Vanilla Sky is a great representation of that, right? And there's a few silly ones out there, but there's these dystopian sci-fi things where we start to the mind starts to remember what is real, and then you get this cognitive dissonance, and you don't know what reality actually is.
Yeah,
and we all kind of have that.
Oh, for sure.
And so
we're perpetually kind of in that, in a sense, right now.
Yeah, and
because this thing's going on that we're being told is something else, and we don't even know what the fuck. You know what I'm saying?
And that's a very Philip K. Dick world of like, what is real? How do you define real? And you're trying to wake up from that reality, and you have to then question, right? We don't want to go so far as to then be like, my family's in on it, right? I've had that experience on high dosages of psychedelics where all of a sudden you're all like, everyone knows the truth. Why haven't they told me? It's like, no, that's bullshit. That's the higher circuits getting conflated with the lower body. And it's not like, no, not everyone knows. Not everybody's a magician now, Brandon. Yeah, only you are having your revelation, right?
No, you're right. You're right. Back here with like the people of the OTO, I was like, no, actually, I just don't think any of them have a fucking clue.
Completely. Interesting enough, I think I have these revelations when I, first hit that neurosomatic circuit from that beautiful pen that I have, and it's all of a sudden all these connections happen, and you're all like, "Wow, why are most occultists and magicians? Why am I not hearing these things from them? Why are they not seeing the same connection to disclosure and aliens as I have? Have they not reached certain states of consciousness even through their occult practices and these lodges?" And I feel like you've had very similar instances with yourself and others.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but I feel like people that are very structural, that are in those orders, like, I hate to, I'm not knocking the order, but I'd rather kind of maybe stick with the Golden Dawn as an excuse. They get very like specific and structural, and I think doing that, you're missing the magic.
Yes.
I think they also are only looking at it through a Golden Dawn lens.
Yeah.
I mean, Josephine McCarthy, somebody I would like to get on the show one day. She had come out with she came out, I can't remember, with her own, I forgot the name of Quaria. Her own kind of like order. But it was online and it was booked, like it was free PDFs. And she said if you do it correctly, it's probably going to take you 17 years, 15 to 17 years. So I mean, it was definitely something that was very in depth, and it was very like much more based on yourself. But I remember listening to her saying, she said, and I was like, damn, when I heard her say this, she was one of the reasons why I left the OTO too, is listening to her say that, she even said, I'm not knocking like orders like the OTO or the Golden Dawn. I think she might have said another one. But she says, when you go to those orders, she says, think of magic as electricity or an outlet. She says, the Golden Dawn is going to be the lamp on the light that's plugged into the outlet.
Mm.
It's just their version of what they know or what they want you to know.
Yeah, and another model to view how
like,
magic.
So why don't you just go to the source yourself?
Yeah.
So I think sometimes there is magic in there, and I think there is. I also put it this way: a lot of magicians don't give a fuck about the signs,
right?
And I think that's a huge part of the problem. Again, they're so rigid on technique of ritual and reading the next old fucking thing that's probably got some thing in there to new thing to find, that I don't think they'll ever entertain like other stuff.
Yeah, fascinating. Nor will they entertain books like this, "The Cloud Upon the Sanctuary." This book is the reason Aleister Crowley, right, by Carl von Eckenstein, basically was like, okay, the Golden Dawn, got it, good. I think there's something we're missing here. Are we following suit to too structural in our understanding of what the interaction with the divine on the tree and these grades and all these things is? He's like, there seems to be a church that is upon the clouds, and I want to be an initiate of the adeptship of old, this prophet of prophets, this linear time, this thing that is awakening us all, the true magic within. And I find it that we're kind of missing that. There's a lot of hate for Crowley himself because of he was that rebel and renegade. And then to even talk about Lon Milo's new book, which I'm gonna fucking come out with that goddamn interview soon, because it is brilliant and he says a lot of amazing things. And I read that book really fast because it's really good, Nick. That book was fantastic.
Is it the same one that I showed you?
It's the same one that yes. Read that whole thing.
I was like, what the fuck? I was like, maybe he'll come. I was like, maybe they're gonna come on. I don't know why they sent me his book.
I think he will then. I think so. That book is fantastic. And why I bring it up even is because we forget that magic isn't who we are. Magic is everything we do, right? And it's not even just everything we do. It is in all things at all times. We just have to awaken our lower self into the magic itself.
Very, very Crowley. Like, I'm probably, I'm paraphrasing it, but Crowley had even said something like, why do we do magic? Because we can't help it.
Because we can't help it. I love that. And so that is taking it back.
Not do it.
Yeah, because we cannot not. And when we cannot not, that's when other people do magic against us. And that's when dark sorcerers like fucking Jolly West and these characters who aren't ceremonial magicians, they're just narcissistic psychopaths who have been given a job, and that is to control power and to try to lead us into this Agenda 2030, into this dystopic framework society that we're living in today, because these people are just small little pawns on a larger scheme. And if you're not, again, turning yourself into your own sovereign magician who's ruled by no one other than your own holy guardian angel, who is but just the expression of the divine, of that Ein Sof lightning bolt flash of light that we're bringing down when we do our Kabbalistic cross or do any of our ritualistic work, or just the Christian mysticism, the mystic path of divine unity. I think that the sacred marriage. I think if this was more fully expressed, I think then things like MKUltra wouldn't have been able to go underground and lasted for so long, and maybe we would live in a society that's not ruled by parasitic oligarchs, technocratic feudalists. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so here we go. I'm just going to continue on. O'Neill keeps pulling at these threads and eventually getting into over 200 boxes of West's personal papers at UCLA. And there he finds letters, direct correspondences between West and Gottlieb himself. West is proposing experiments on unwitting subjects, military guys, prisoners, psychiatric patients. He wants to extract true information and implant false information. He wants to flip the loyalty of what he calls previously loyal individuals, completely switch somebody's allegiance from one leader to another without them ever knowing it happened to them. Weird. Sounds like the vid, right? Sounds like 9/11. Sounds like these Black Swan events we've been going through for a long time.
Black Swan events, I like that.
Right? So there's one sentence that stopped O'Neill cold when he found it. West writes that these experiments have to eventually get tested in the field. Maybe these things that I'm exactly talking about. Maybe Jack Ruby. Maybe Oswald, maybe all these characters. Gottlieb writes back, practically giddy, telling West he's developed an admirably accurate picture of exactly what they're after. Now, here's the piece that really matters, though. A 14-page report West writes in 1956. In it, he claims he's figured out how to replace someone's real memories with false ones without them knowing, using hypnotic suggestion. His own words. He says it's feasible to take a real event out of somebody's life and through hypnosis get them to consciously believe that event never actually happened at all, and that's a completely made up event actually happened instead.
You know, it's really wild. Like I said 2-part yesterday. It's 4-part series on hypnosis.
Oh, nice.
And it's actually really wild to see how that works. It's really I mean, there's things being said and done, but it's really your body that's making the choice to actually, like, it's hard to explain, but it's kind of weird. It's a little different than I expected.
No, that's cool. Yeah, everyone should go over and check out it.
It's weird.
Your mechanics of magic that you're doing. It's fantastic work. And I think it's really important because this is the science and art of causing change to conformity of somebody else's will, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're supposed to only do it to our own reality, our own body and our own mind, our own world, but yet this is being done to others for some grander experiment, some grander thing that I think is exactly what we're seeing today in our algorithms.
I guess a better way to say it, and kind of go along with the stuff that you're saying, is that I guess I was surprised to see how much it really is just your nervous system reacting to things in a weird way that makes you just fucking do it. Or just go along with it, or you believe it, or it's just it's just like, yo, we're that fucking easy,
right?
God damn.
We are. You will. Yeah. It's like one day you have a craving. I want a Twix bar. Why? Well, because maybe you just watched a Twix commercial that you forgot, and all of a sudden you're going out and getting it. Why do you buy the things you buy? Why do you crave the things you crave? It's actually maybe because the bacteria in your gut, the bad ones, have been overactive, and now you crave all the bad things because they're trying to feed it. Or like how peptides work, or from your hypothalamus, and all of a sudden it's feeding the rest of your body, so it craves these emotional experiences. Now take it one step further. You actually have a life that you're living with your psyche and the history that you've lived, and now there are individuals now who can completely wipe those things clean. One day, again, a tone arrives on your phone. You didn't know what it was. And then all of a sudden you kind of like twitch out. And then all of a sudden you go on a mission and you black out everything that just happens. You wake up a day later, you have no idea what's going on. That could happen to anybody, interesting enough. However, I think that there's a reprieve. There is a way out of that. And that goes back to exactly what we're talking about. Practice, myth, magic, meaning, and waking up to the story of this dystopic reality that we're in. You put yourself in it. That's the thing. We are not victims to this, not victims to circumstance. That's not what either of us are here ever to do. We're actually here to tell you that you did it to yourself. And I'm not victim blaming either. I'm not trying to be all like, oh, all the victims from Epstein, they did it to themselves. No, that's not. You're taking it out of hand. It's a nuanced conversation where it's like there are bad people doing bad things. And you could just be a random stance. All of a sudden, you took a wrong turn in an alleyway and you got kidnapped. That's not your fault, But the idea is that we must do everything you can before that situation arises to not then put ourselves into situations that could lead to something terrible to happen. But sometimes you never know because karma and the universe, as Toole says, is hostile, so impersonal, devour to survive. So it is. So it's always been. And in that's when we can rise up and maybe cure some of our suffering and these crazy things that happens to us. Fascinating.
Yeah.
One more piece from O'Neill that's worth repeating is exactly that. West inserts himself into the Jack Ruby case. Jack Ruby, the person who killed Oswald. So Oswald could never talk. Jack Ruby then, West gets alone with Jack Ruby in his cell and comes out and declares that Ruby had a psychotic break and that he's never going to recover from it. It's interesting how Jolly West comes up in all these things. 2 months later, Ruby gives his only public testimony to the Warren Commission, and it completely falls apart into incoherence. O'Neill's conclusions, on the record, under oath, is that he believes West was placed there specifically to keep Ruby from ever telling his story. Now, this is where Nick and I went somewhere with his testimony that doesn't really get covered on anywhere else. So tell your friends to make sure you subscribe, like, and share to the Occult Rejects and MagusintheMedia, because we're bringing you the topics and the things that no one else will bring up. And I think this is really important. It belongs right here in this timeline. Oswald himself spent time in Russia working on what was reportedly the vaccine. You can translate that. Research over there. The same kind of polio vaccine work that some people believed caused as many problems as it solved. You brought that up. Interesting.
Yeah. See, I wasn't fucking talking shit.
You weren't. And some believe carries a thread into what later showed up in another vaccine controversy.
Oh, yeah. Supposedly it's in there. The same thing.
Weird.
It's just like, I guess you give zero fucks about polio.
Huh? So we talked about the possibilities that Oswald wasn't the mastermind everyone thought he was. Weird. But a patsy. Somebody who worked on something they wanted to keep quiet and got silence instead. That leads us into Carrie Thornley, one of the founders of Discordianism. We talked about the chaos magic movement that grew out of the same stretch of the 60s and 70s and how that whole scene sits there right alongside all this material rather than from a part in it.
I think they even say, like, if you look into, like, when he got arrested, I think he was even just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
I think he was even coming out and like there was even like, I don't know if it was on TV or what. Ryder Lee was on the show a while ago. He did a thing on the JFK assassination and he shows a little bit about Oswald because he thinks he was a patsy and didn't do it. And there was like stuff with like him even coming out and being like, I think I'm being framed for something I didn't even do. Like he's like, you could almost tell, my opinion, if the shit was like actually correct and it wasn't made up. That like the dude really, it did kind of sound like he was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I don't even think he knew what he was arrested for.
Yeah, no, I don't think he did. Yep.
And it was just like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I was like, yo, imagine that shit.
Yeah. All of a sudden, just a color flashes somewhere off in the distance. A guy walks by you, click, and you're like, oh. And then all of a sudden, your old memory comes back, and you're like, oh, I'm Brandon. But how did I even get outside? How am I how did I get here?
Like, I was fucking in Russia working on fucking this and I'm going to jail. What the fuck?
Yeah. It's fucking crazy times that have been going on for all the time humans have been around. Then we moved on to the Nazi lineage because this program didn't just spring up out of nothing. In 1953. Operation Paperclip brings something like 1,600 German scientists into the U.S. after the war, including men who ran actual human experimentation under the Nazis. Kurt Blom ran biological weapons for Nazi Germany. Goes to work for them, the CIA. Walter Schreiber, Surgeon General for the Nazi Army, same thing. And it wasn't just the Germans. We brought up Unit 731. Didn't you, Nick? The Japanese program that did things like...
we took them too. And those were vicious, sick fucks.
Yep.
Oh, the shit they would do to people, man.
Yeah, leave infants outside
That's what
to time how long it took them to freeze to death.
Yeah, that is sick.
Yeah, and how they
get hung by their balls.
Yeah, I agree.
Disgusting.
Yeah, and how the U.S. took a number of those same doctors.
You know, like disconnected you have to be, like, oh man.
Yeah, you have to be possessed by demons.
To me, that's satanic.
That's truly that's truly like the dark chthonic old ones.
Oh, that's like looking at insanity straight in the face.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And so the Russians took people like that too. So both countries absorbed that same well of expertise once the war ended. So Kinzer tells the story about finding what might be the first CIA black site, a chalet in Germany, and the current owners walks him into the basement and tells him this is where the cells were, where MKUltra officers worked side by side with actual Nazis, continuing the exact same experiments those men were running under Hitler just a few years earlier, sometimes in the same building. Our own CIA, everybody. The great CIA, these three-lettered agencies who are actually all working together. The Nazis never lost the war. They just changed names. Germany lost the war, I'd say. All of this is after Nuremberg. Kinzer looked for any sign that the Nuremberg principles ever were even posted on a wall somewhere in that program, and they found nothing. We also pulled in Werner von Braun. That's why I brought up the Nazi rocket scientist who went on to essentially build the NASA's program, and his connection to Walt Disney. Two of them worked together, which is strange enough on its own. Once you sit with it a little while, Disney went on to become one of the largest media corporations on the entire planet, owning today Marvel, among everything else. And we talked about how that entire machine runs on that same basic principles of programming and manipulation that showed up in MKUltra's own research. This connection
might get people to join the army, for fuck's sakes.
Exactly. Join the army, create stamps.
Oh, they were great for nationalism.
Exactly.
Not knocking, you take whatever, how people look at that. But.
Yeah, each to his own. I mean, I get it. It's 4th of July coming up, and we should all be loving that we have a constitution. And that's why we're so much different than Europe, that we have First Amendment rights, that we can own guns, and that we can defend ourselves. That's what true liberty is all about. But liberty, as we learned in Liber Oz from Crowley, is very important. And that we need to fight for our liberty, but not protest. This silly little protest nonsense is another propagation, a manipulation technique. So they can get you on the Hegelian dialectic of two sides, war against each other, so that Palantir and Oracle can build up the flock cameras and the interconnected network of the AI blockchain, so you can own nothing and be happy. Aren't you happy, Nick? Yeah.
You know what? I was just want to throw this in real quick. Something I've noticed, I could be wrong, but something I have noticed with Crowley, because I've just looked at more of his stuff, or just maybe seen more people post quotes of his that seem political.
Yeah,
he never picked a side though.
Never.
Why the fuck do 80% of his worshipers do?
Yeah, because
he was just against. He said they're all fucking you, basically.
Yeah.
He even said that democracy is just like a cover up for fucking socialism and communism or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Plato said the same thing. Democracy leads to tyranny.
Yeah. No, he shit on everybody when it came to that, and it's just.
Yeah. Why magicians take sides. Reading somebody like Daniel Pinchbeck's work on Facebook as of recently as he pulls it up, that fucking poofter himself, I'll fight him. I'll fight him with my words. He can come on here and we can debate, because I can't stand that fucking cuck. He's the 2012 pusher of some spiritual nonsense, and he's all like, we need more extreme left magicians to fight against the extreme right. And I'm all like, you've missed the point.
Oh my God.
You've missed the point.
You're basically doing exactly what they want you to do.
Yep. You're falling lockstep.
Separate us.
Yep.
Separate us. Hate each other somehow. That's the red ants fighting the black ants.
Yeah, exactly. That's good.
What the fuck, man?
Yeah. And that's the only reason I even make these jokes about fighting, right? Because I would, and I would, I'd shoot, fucking get to his back, choke him out. But that's that's neither.
I even brought this up yesterday or whatever. No, maybe 2 days ago with Adi and Wachter. And
yeah.
That even you see these people attacking politicians now. Let's do a group thing, or get all these wishes on this day. And it's like,
fucking Etsy
I was
wishes.
saying, when we with people who possibly work with the Goetia, I said people that I know in the past that have normally used it for a negative reason. I'm not saying, and that's another thing. I actually do think that book possibly looked at the right way and used correctly, maybe a little bit different. But I think what most people, the way they look at it and use it, it's normally a negative reason to do something negative to somebody else. I said, now imagine you spending your whole time to make your sigils or your talismans or anything you got to do. If you're even doing that stuff half the way it's supposed to be done, it's going to take time. You're going to have certain clothes. There's going to be a lot of effort put into this. And I said, you've probably also killed the motherfucker in your head 100 times before you even got to the fucking ritual. Do you think that's actually good for a person to begin with, being in that mindset?
No,
it's fucking horrible.
It's fucking horrible. It's fucking horrible.
You are not the magician. The person that has you doing that spell is your puppet master.
Oh yeah. That's a great point. No, I completely agree.
Motherfuckers got it twisted. If you got that much anger and hate towards somebody, you better check yourself.
Yep. Because you're missing the point of what, like, something like the Tree of Life.
And not disregarding what they're doing, but look at why you're allowing yourself to get to that extreme.
Yep. Yeah, because that's not calming your mind like what you're supposed to be doing with your 8 limbs of yoga. The practice.
No, people, like, even when you're in that mindset, I swear, you just physically feel differently. Like, it just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing.
It's not training your will, exercising your will. It's doing what you want, and what your lower desires want is to fight against, as Don Quixote, right? Fight against a windmill.
Oh, it's like I feel my will's being affected by them, so now I got to affect theirs. It's like,
yep. And it goes back to it. You are trying to then do one of the first 2 laws that you shouldn't do. You shouldn't change somebody else's consciousness, and that's what that's doing. And I'm not saying that we all have things and people do stuff. And so, but what the point of, like, say, the Tree of Life and the Kabbalah and your tarot or any of your mystical magical practices, you're trying to refine and create the philosopher's stone within. Not succumb to your lowest animal desires, and animals just want to fight.
Yeah. It keeps you very much on Ruach.
It keeps you
your lowest self in Kabbalistic terms.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Instead of building yourself past that.
You're always in your root chakra.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So, the connection then leads of the programming and then the manipulation of the MKUltra research. This connects straight back to Edward Bernays, the father of public relations, who took the word propaganda, which the Nazis themselves used openly for their own ministry of propaganda, and repackaged it under a softer name for Americans to use. Yet, it's the same function, just a friendlier term. Edward Bernays is a grandson, I think it's the grandson of Freud himself. So somebody who truly understands the subconscious.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So we spent time on the deeper occult history underneath all of this as well, because if you don't see this thread, you're missing all of the picture. Westcott, Mathers, founding of the Golden Dawn in the late 1800s, the occult revival happening around that same period, and how all that whole current helped shape Aleister Crowley. Crowley became, again, and I will state, the Golden Dawn's work. I really like the Golden Dawn. So as much as I have my own tendency to shit on institutions, the Golden Dawn, I've built my own temple based upon the work of the Golden Dawn and Crowley and all these things. So it's like,
if you really think about it, even for a Thelemite, unless you're doing rituals that Crowley wrote, 80% of the shit you're doing is probably from the Golden Dawn anyway. Unless you're banishing ritual for the pentagram, your hexagram.
Oh yeah, Liber Resh, all these things are stemming.
I think Resh might have been Crowley, maybe, I don't know,
but he's taken from prior like Bible rituals, from Psalms and things like that.
But yeah, like a lot of actually ceremonial magic does go back to the Golden Dawn.
It's all Golden Dawn. I think almost like, and if it's not directly, it's the foundation of the work of people, what people have been built off of that. Because the Golden Dawn, the Freemasons that built the Golden Dawn were then finding old scripts and grimoires from the Renaissance magicians and the Rosicrucians and all of those things that go back to the Neoplatonists and Hermeticists.
It was even interesting too with when we had Angel Millar on, do the history of Freemasonry. I didn't realize, like, I knew the OTO and Freemasonry was connected, but like the way he explained it, it was like it was so fucking connected.
Oh, of course. It was before Crowley entered into it. It was
like an order that was supposed to be esoteric.
That's exactly what it was.
And I had no idea about that. I thought it was just a bunch of guys who were like, fuck it, we'll come up with our own thing.
No, Grady McMurtry.
Like a Shriner or a Jester. It's an inner order.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah. Grady McMurtry was a Freemason who then, I don't know if he created it, but like they did the OTO. And then they read the Book of Lies that Crowley wrote.
Book of the Law, I think.
It's Book of Lies. They read the Book of Lies and saw on one of the chapters that Crowley had figured out
secrets of some shit, right?
That they told the secrets of the highest order of sex magic in that fucking Book of Lies.
He was just like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they're like, well, we're initiating you, and then so it's like
that story. I'm
like, yeah, and so the Freemasons created the OTO, and then Crowley took it over, because they're all like, you are then reading the Book of the Law and realizing Crowley's work and things like that. So I'm not making the connection as a lot of the fucking poofters out there are going to do in the Christian conspiracy scenes. They're going to be like, oh yeah, see, the Golden Dawn is bad. 2 occultists and magicians said so. No. That's not what we're saying. There is no actual baseline connection between MKUltra and the Golden Dawn at all. What I'm laying out there is the occult significances and the underlying histories that then led us through to create certain individuals and discovering these certain powers of the human mind and the nervous system and the body interaction with our world that then are also being used in consort with these dark sorcerers in these projects. That then obviously the CIA, which was the OSS beforehand and all these things, they were like the Blavatsky, Dr. John Dee working for Queen Elizabeth in Spain, being the apropos 007. The occult history underlying all of this really helps understand, right? And then why the church does what it does, who also are propagandists, manipulators. They manipulate consciousness all the time to create weak slaves. I think God truly wants us to awaken and unite with him. So that's what I think, at least. So again, back to Crowley. He became a double agent working for the Allies against the Nazis. And we talked about the V for victory sign, tracing back to the hexagram ritual work, the sign of Isis moving into the sign of Apophis and Typhon, the rising beast. Beautiful. I love that. We also brought up Douglas Rushkoff's comic connecting Crowley and Himmler, not Hitler himself, but Himmler, as the actual occultist standing behind him. The two of them effectively locked in a magical battle for opposite sides of the war. We shouted out, I shouted out, and everyone, I'm going to shout them again, Truthstream Media's documentary, Minds of Men. If you want the deep dive into what happened during MKUltra and how it moves us through getting the exact technology that we're using today to talk to you, that exact technology that is basically brainwashing us all if you don't wake up to what's happening. 5 hours long. It's brilliant. And it's one of the most thorough pieces of work tracing this whole lineage from earlier human experimentation around World War I through Project Artichoke, Bluebird, and Project Climax into MKUltra itself, and from there into the algorithms and the AI systems we're all living inside right now. So if you haven't seen it, go find it. And from there, we get into the history of the sane asylums, because that's part of the lineage itself. Dorothy Dix and the 19th century push to build state-funded psychiatric hospitals, the population of these institutions peaking around 55 at nearly 600,000 patients nationwide. Nick brought up Pilgrim State Hospital out in Brentwood, New York, once the largest psychiatric hospital in the world, built as a self-contained farm colony where patients lived and worked the land as supposed therapy.
That place is gigantic. It was fucking crazy. Yo, real quick,
crazy.
Take up too much time, just real quick.
Yeah.
I've admitted that I've had problems with drugs in the past.
Yeah.
I went to CK Post, and that was like a drug rehab that was on that property. And sometimes they take you for walks and stuff, and they walk you around the complex. And you'd see all the buildings, and there was times I think it was other recovering addicts or people from AA that would come in and kind of take us for the walks. So they weren't employees. So some of them were like, yo, you want to go inside these buildings? So we've actually gone in these fucking busted down psychiatric buildings, and yo, it is fucking crazy. They had jail cells, almost looked like sparred rooms. We saw they literally had, and I was like, yo, are these motherfuckers walking in circles? It was a circular padded room with a round bubble in the middle where I guess the nurses or the staff sat. And I was like, holy shit, the motherfuckers are in the middle and they're just observing everybody. Fucking wild, bro.
That's crazy. That's the panopticon where you get people, you know, and that leads to Project Climax again of like what people observing others and the, you know, like it's like we're all being observed.
I was like, yo, that is so creepy how it was like in the middle of like, how do you get out?
You don't. It's the ever-moving labyrinth of, you know, of walls.
How do the fucking people in the middle get out without the crazy people getting at them?
That's crazy. Yeah, no, I completely agree. So I just want everybody to know that we, again, live in a dark republic that I keep trying to like put out there. We live in a dark republic, and that's the term I'm going to keep using for it. A structure built to keep two sides fighting each other out in the open. Left against right, one approved position screaming at the other at all times. The approved position. Well, the actual machinery of control sits underneath both sides, completely untouched. It's the old Hegelian move, the dialectic, the thesis, antithesis. Let two sides burn each other out in the public while the audience exhausts itself watching. And the synthesis that finally lands was already decided by whoever built the stage in the first place. MKUltra never actually got shut down. I'm telling you again, MKUltra never actually got shut down. It got absorbed. And what started as chemical and psychological experimentation on people who never agreed to any of it became the research foundation for something far bigger. The engineering of belief and attention and awareness and perception at large scale running through the device sitting on your hands that you're watching this very stream through right now. We even brought up the CIA's own LifeLog project, getting quietly shelved, and how shortly after that platform called Facebook showed up and took its place, which is exactly the same kind of thread that shows this project didn't end at all. It just changed names and delivery systems. And again, I always keep telling us all, the sovereign magician is the one who studies this architecture closely enough to see both sides that is manufactured fighting for that, what they actually are. One system wearing two masks rising above the dark republic doesn't mean checking out or pretending none of it matters. It means seeing that the fight as it is handed to you, that were already decided before either side even opened their mouth, and choosing one to do the actual work instead. Root yourself, root your own nervous system, take back command of your own attention and your own memory before somebody else gets there first. That's the whole practice. That's it. And they're going to continue yelling at us, right? So I'm going to pull up right now what we've been talking about. But first, before we get to that, there's this interesting on News Nation now that everyone's talking about it. It's let's listen to it, Nick. Let's figure it out as we do it live and we do it together.
Responsibility of Congress to look into this. I mean, it's certainly the responsibility of Congress to look into this. The issue here is that the record was never cleanly closed. A lot of the MKUltra record was destroyed, as you mentioned. So that's not folklore. That is the part of why this case, I think, still has oxygen decades later. When records are missing, just
former CIA senior operative officer. And they say, if you ever see it say former, just realize there's no such thing.
Destroyed or withheld. The public does not just lose information; it loses confidence in the institutions that are asking to be trusted.
And they don't lose interest. They don't lose interest in it, and particularly if the records are destroyed. I mean, I guess the big takeaway I had is: was this run by select individuals, or was this being rubber stamped, supervised, greenlit by people up top?
Well, look, it was a real CIA program. It was approved in the early Cold War, and it involved research into drugs, behavior, interrogation, and psychological influence. The Rockefeller Commission of the late 60s found that CIA did administer LSD to people who did not know that they were being tested. And then we had that one individual who died in 1953. So the responsible way to discuss MKUltra is not really to exaggerate it or to come up with some of this conspiracy stuff. It is to,
what do you think they mean by to come up with some of this conspiracy stuff?
Yeah, I was just like, where's he going with that?
Yeah, let's not exaggerate it. Let's not exaggerate that they were actually like Jolly West was working on people and then taking out memories, and all of a sudden, like the story that O'Neill talked about was a little girl who they found dead outside of a bar, and it was this guy who ended up killing her. but he had no memory or recollection of it.
Oh,
And
yeah, you mentioned that yesterday.
and he was like being worked on by Jolly West at that time frame. And there's no, you know what I mean? It's like, was that a conspiracy theory?
Was that pre-Manson?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. It makes you wonder if that was like
A working meme too.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
I guess it is to read the government's own record and ask the obvious question, how did an intelligence program get so far beyond law, consent, and adult supervision?
Is it happening today? In other words, you do wonder, with the public backlash over it, does it change how intelligence agencies operate? Does it force them to become more secretive? I mean, do you think there's a program that's going on right now that's not getting, there's no checks and balances over it?
Well, I mean, I think the temptation exists, right? I mean, these are issues that deal with, with humans. So it's not just institutions and buildings. The temptation is still there. If you don't have the oversight, if you don't have the systems in place to make sure that these things don't continue, then yeah, it could occur. But look, when it comes to AI and social media and algorithmic influences, it's not MKUltra and a lab coat. It's something completely different. The old model was drugs and interrogation and behavioral experiments. The new model is data and platforms and censorship pressure. The danger today is not necessarily a secret government chemist. It is the fusion of government pressure, private platforms, data science, political incentives. If government agencies can quietly push, suppress, amplify, or steer information through outside entities, then the legal question becomes a very serious question very quickly. Wow. So you don't need LSD when you can shape the information environment.
Yeah, you don't need LSD when you can shape the information environment.
That's what I think changed at one point. They realized they could pretty much, get what they want without the drugs. And I think that's why some people just don't see it anymore. Because it automatically is supposed to, have drugs involved.
Yeah, and because the drug has now become put into the blue light that's like 100 billion bits per second or whatever is going on in our screens that we're looking at all times, and that's putting our nervous system into what I think is a programmed imprint vulnerable state where now they can just very subtly control you and all your decisions that you make through time. And so, yeah, you don't need LSDs, so to speak. I think LSD actually helped me break free from my preconditioned state. And I may have not have become had my intellect be able to take over as much as it has. But I also watched it also fucking burn out nervous systems all over the place, just, because people didn't have the correct practices beforehand. And I may be just a lucky individual or not, because as we say, we're all mad here. We're all mad here. And so now to bring up, we've been talking a lot about this whole thing, and it's the MKUltra hearing. We're going to continue now with the direct AI and algorithm statements that Kinzer is talking about. I want to talk about, because this is what we deal with on a daily basis. We're all being fed from the machine itself.
Declassification of federal secrets will.
So that's Luna. Let's go to where Kinzer's talking about it as we do it live. And we are, Nick and I, our own producers. And so we do it as well as we can, as seamless as possible. We love all you out there. Thank you for being here with us. Subscribe, like, and share. Tell your friends, because we're not just your ordinary esoteric occult e-boys. We are here to help explode your minds and help us all break us free from the matrix of total control, because we are sovereign magicians. We are Ronin, aren't we, Nick?
Yeah, I like that.
One phase of MKUltra drew to a close in the early 1960s. Sidney Gottlieb concluded that it had failed, that in fact there is no such thing as mind control. Even if he was right, however, he may have been right only at that time. In the many decades since then, there have been enormous advances in cyber technology, in artificial intelligence, in neuroscience. Covert agencies may have access now to tools for mind control that Sidney Gottlieb could not even have imagined. It may well have been true in 1963 that mind control is a myth, but whether it's still true is uncertain. And that question of whether mind control might now be possible under our new circumstances is something that has presumably occurred to scientists who work for secret services, including our own. This task force has a chance to connect the past to the future. A renewed effort to find MKUltra documents from the 1950s and to fill out the redactions of those that have been released might shed new light on how the CIA operated during that period. It could also inform a new inquiry into whether any mind control projects are now underway inside the US security apparatus. That might help prevent the emergence of a 21st century MKUltra that could be even more destructive than the original. Thank you.
And I think it is even more destructive than the original. Almost. You know what I mean? Because now it's on a mass scale in the entire world, not just in some small CIA Like the CIA is one of the most dangerous organizations, I think, in the entire planet. And it's supposed to be helping our nation.
And one thing I think he said that was really important that validates the deep shit that we've been going on. What did he even say with new advances in neuroscience?
In neuroscience. Thank you. Nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. It's all about manipulating you.
Yep. Neuroscience. And that's what,
it is just like, it's like sometimes when I'm trying to be in the frame of mind, it's like, I wonder like how he's thinking it. Cause like, Gottlieb might be surprised how it's being done today. Cause it'd be like, wow, no drugs. You just need stimulants from outside. You know what I'm saying? Like he might even be like, God damn, that's impressive. Like, the opposite way. Fuck.
You'd be like, shit, you guys really know what you're doing. Good work.
Using LSD now? Fuck.
Yeah, fuck, guys. You just have people watching their phones.
Yeah.
So you guys got MKUltra in everybody's pocket? Oh, that's cool as fuck.
Yeah, right.
Wait, and it's interesting because what we don't think about is the amount of EMF that comes off of your phone, the non-native EMFs that are fucking with your nervous system, making it so it kill. Did you know? Side note: did you know that EMF manipulates and helps proliferate mold in the body and in your surroundings?
No.
Yeah, somebody's gonna be all like, "Fucking fact check that guy," and I'm gonna be like, "I've seen it in real time."
I should cover that.
Yes, you should, and I would love to come on and talk about it because it's fascinating. And I'll think about how everyone has routers in their entire home. Yeah. Most people don't even know that mold is bad, even though we do understand how terrible it is. And the more mold in your body, the less you can think clearly.
It's crazy enough, does that?
Yeah.
Wow.
So wild times. Now we're going to skip ahead to an exchange here with Burchett with Kinzer. It's a question and answer, and it really gets fascinating here. So as we do it live and we do it together.
I apologize.
All I mean to say is that I think if
for some reason he apologized. Let's figure if I can get right at the beginning.
No, it's going to be hard for Congress to act when they're so dadgum compromised. Let's just be honest. I mean, y'all are in the business of twisting ears and telling us things that we've done, and that sways a lot of people up here. Somebody doesn't want to wreck a marriage or their business or lose this glamorous job that we have. And so I suspect that has a lot of play into it. Sorry to interrupt you. I apologize.
All I mean to say is that I think if there are such projects going on inside the U.S. government, there might be a sense that we can do this without any hostile supervision.
What are the possibilities that what we've learned in MKUltra, now that it has advanced so much to algorithms and the computer and getting to loners, that some of these loners could, through this just mass propagation of whatever you're doing, could cause someone to maybe take a shot at a president?
Do you hear how crazed everybody is? Look at Tom O'Neill laughing. Like everyone's like, holy shit, did he and look at how upset. So this is Dr. Ginezzi, this woman from NHS who doesn't know anything about MKUltra. And there's part of this where she talks about how, no, she doesn't know anything about him. She's just here because of, she's a sponsor for NHS because she's a psychologist. She's believes that Dr. Fauci did nothing wrong. So that's interesting.
I know there's a lot of speculation out there about the Butler shooting, and I guess even the Charlie Kirk shooting. I just hate to speculate because I don't know. I have no firsthand knowledge whether those guys were programmed through radio waves or through their computer activity. So I would never hazard a guess, except to say what I've already said, that they developed means that we've never been told about many, many years ago, and I imagine they've evolved to be much more effective now. So
let me interrupt you one more time, and I apologize again. But don't you think that they could cast this broad net through these algorithms and other things, and maybe they don't know the exact person it's going to affect, but they know what type of person it's going to affect, and they know it's going to happen, and that way they can't predict when it's going to happen, but they think it will happen, and then that way they can sort of wash their hands of this whole thing and say, well, we didn't have anything to do with it, but in effect they really did, because they put this out there and they continue to put it out there. To what other method you're talking about. Go ahead, guys, I'm sorry. Ma'am, if you want to jump in.
She's with NIH.
Okay. Doctor, go ahead.
It sounds to me like
she don't know
something
shit.
like the Martin Luther King assassination. The FBI didn't carry it out, but it created such a climate just denouncing King as the most dangerous man in America and putting out all this material about how he was helping communists that they must have thought it's going to filter down. Somebody will take action, and then we can say we didn't have anything to do with it.
And James Earl Ray was a third-rate thief. He made an incredible shot, 1 foot on a commode, 1 foot in a bathtub, leaning out of a window, basically. And the next day, or that afternoon, all the shrubbery was cut in front of the flop house he was staying in. There's a lot on that one that will never be discussed. I have some friends that were there, so I guess I'm on pretty close to firsthand knowledge. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm probably going to get audited when I walk out of the room. I know it. So thank you. Chair Lady, I yield back my 4 seconds.
Isn't that fascinating? They're like completely talking about how it could happen. Manchurian candidates, assassins out of nowhere, tones and radio waves. It's speculation, and I agree. That's what we're doing here. We are speculating, but we can connect the patterns and see how manipulable human nervous systems are. Humans themselves.
They're going to even touch on that when they
right.
Up, I was like, oh,
yeah.
I was surprised.
And so it's like, what? And so now we're going to go into Bobert, the woman that you said. I don't know. That's so funny shit you said. Yeah. But she's going to do a question and answer about Mockingbird here. So this is fascinating as well.
Thank you, Rep. Burchett. I would like to now recognize Representative Bobert for 5 minutes.
Thank you. And I would love to let you gentlemen just talk some here. But when we're bringing up operations like Naomi and MKUltra. There's Operation Mockingbird that was going on at the same time as MKUltra, and it really ties into what Congressman Burchett was talking about with radio waves, where we have these like a Venn diagram of individual people and the military casting a broader net. So you have the radio waves, computer activity, the Operation Mockingbird, the programming that is taking place. So what do you see in relation to what was happening then and what we are seeing now that could be types of the same kind of programs and even using direct energy weapons or the like?
Direct energy weapons, which Pete Hegseth in News Nation just broke that. We have and are using and are going to be buying hundreds of millions of dollars worth of direct energy weapons, but not using them domestically.
Mr. O'Neill, you can begin.
I would just like to say one thing. There was an objective outlined in the early proposals for MKUltra experimentation to see whether they could do mass conversion. convert entire populations. I think that had something to do with the France incident that you were talking about earlier. Again, today, it's all speculation, but back then, they were trying to use psychological means to see how you could influence people's thoughts. And Mockingbird played into that, which, if people don't know, that was where they had CIA assets or co-opted people in the media who would write basically propaganda and try to control the thoughts and beliefs of the population to what the CIA needed. And is it still going on today? I would be surprised if it wasn't.
Sure, I think we saw it even during COVID with all of the NIH funding that went to COVID and the Wuhan lab and then everything that came out of that, trying to make people believe in something that wasn't there. Dr. Kinzer, do you have anything on this?
I would say only that in the modern age, maybe radio waves and drugs are not necessary to control people's minds. We have such a great advertising, propaganda, press, social media.
Built by Edward Bernays, the grandson of Freud.
Collaboration, that certain opinions are marginalized and real debate is frustrated because people are not given access to full amounts of information. So that's a way of controlling the minds of populations that doesn't even require sophisticated electronic or psychopharmacological means.
And now think that it goes back to what I brought up earlier about the SSRIs, psychopharmacological means to be able to get people to act strange in all these ways, and that is going on today. And then add poor diets, mass amounts of inflammation, EMF, all the propagation that's going on, and then people not believing in something higher than themselves, like a divinity, which I think is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of puts you, I don't know. I think it can make people zombies.
Which one?
Certain drugs.
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like you're walking we walk around the wounded already. Now add all the drugs and things to this. And now it's like, we're walking around NPCs and zombies. The zombies are an allegory from the movies into actually what we're around today.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add for our next 2 minutes here that we haven't, maybe you have answers to questions we haven't asked?
I would just like to reiterate something that I said in response to your earlier question, and that is that there's a reason why conspiracy theories are so widespread in America. It has to do with the disassociation between what we say we are and do and what we really are and do. This has become more and more clear to more and more people. Therefore, they're suspicious of nefarious dealings by the U.S., and they're also suspicious of other things that aren't nefarious at all. But there's just this mentality that is created by the covert sphere. And that is what makes people realize that things that used to seem really far-fetched are not so far-fetched after all.
Yes, well, Congress, we create these agencies and we even provide their funding, we appropriate that funding, and then they come before us often and are too big to even answer simple questions that we have and be held to account. So it does cause for a lot of deceit, a lot of doubt in the American people, and certainly within us as members of Congress when these agencies refuse to answer to us, the branch of government that actually creates them and provides their funding. And then, of course, the American taxpayer whose money is being stolen to fund all of their programs and agencies. So I think that would be another reason how these conspiracy theories grow, because government has grown so big it won't answer to the people. Maybe they just think the people are too dumb to understand, but certainly we want to get answers to the people. And I appreciate you gentlemen for being here today. Madam Chair, I yield.
Thank you, Representative.
That's brilliant. I'm going to play one last one, Nick, here, and then we can go towards the end here. But it's quite brilliant, I think, where he lays this information out.
Blame it on one crazy person.
Where am I?
Cindy Gottlieb's unique background and personality and worldwide view shaped the program's direction and methods and ethical boundaries?
Let me start by answering your second question about Gottlieb. He was a very different person from all of the other senior CIA officers of that era. Most of them came from silver spoon backgrounds. They went to the same prep schools and the same Ivy League colleges and belonged to the same yacht clubs and worked for the same law firms and international banks. Sidney Gottlieb was the son of Orthodox Jewish refugees from Central Europe. He had a limp. He had a stutter. He went to Hebrew school. He was so different from all of the other officers. And upon reflection, I think this may not have been an accident. I think that people at the CIA understood that whoever had this job was going to be doing some awful, terrible things that would be very bloody, that they might become known, and it might be necessary to blame it all on somebody. And they didn't want to have to blame it all on one of their own. So Gottlieb actually became the person on whom everything was blamed. In fact, when he testified in secret here in Congress in the 1970s, he complained that there were documents on which various signatures had been redacted, but his alone had remained. So it's a way of diverting attention away from the institutional responsibility of the CIA and trying to blame it on one crazy person. As for the international situation at the time, I think it's very important to understand this because there is a sort of a parallel to today. The CIA misinterpreted several key incidents in the world, including those to which you referred, the trial of the Cardinal Mindszenty, and then in Hungary, and then the return of Korean War prisoners. Neither of those episodes really had to do with mind control, but in the CIA, they were interpreted that way. And this gave the CIA a reason to pretend that its research was purely defensive. So I think when you consider the world situation and the sense in Washington that we're surrounded by enemies, that becomes a very dangerous environment. Conspiracy theories stem from the growth of the covert sphere. There's a great contradiction in American life that we pretend to uphold certain principles at home and abroad, but it's evident to many Americans that we actually operate in opposition to those principles. And we operate by secret and anti-democratic means. That contributes to suspicion of government. And the very existence of MKUltra proves that some of the wildest fantasies about secret government research are actually close to reality. That makes the paranoid mindset seem ever more rational.
Thank you. And I'm going to have to cut off several.
It's beautiful. That's and it's very true. And I think that's a great way to kind of rev down this beautiful show for this today and this fine Thursday, from trying to understand and get out to the people that this MKUltra hearing is actually probably more important than we could ever imagine. And there's a lot of strange things going on of people trying to say that it's, that it's not real, or that they're just, it's like a red herring, or whatever or not it is that this is getting out to millions and millions of people. And even if it's not today that people wake up, that it'll be a slow drip of awareness that unless you, again, gain control of your own self, that somebody else is controlling you. It's either in your own home, in your own cities, in your own state, in your own nation, or in the world, these archons of total control. And the only way to gain control of those are to basically tap into the divine spheres and the higher powers. That it's not, you don't have to do it alone. And that's why we're here, is to help you understand that we are a community that is trying to help each other wake up, and we are here to do it together. What do you think, Nick?
I like that. I very much like that. Yeah. Not to even, go back to Crowley, but like, I even like kind of the idea with Magic in Theory and Practice. I was like, in his mind, anybody could read that and was able to, do magic. And it was still hard to understand, but even he would say it's not beyond anybody. It's possible for anybody.
It is. Magic is
available
for
to all. Yeah.
Yeah, as we say it together, exactly. Magic is for all, and it's not for some hidden elite, even though it is esoteric. And the reason it's esoteric is because your everyday robot self that needs to make sure your family's fed and that you use the bathroom and that you eat and you do these things, and you can read things normally, that then you can go through a liminal space and enter into that divine holy temple and tap into something grander.
Oh, yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard to wake up. It's actually like it pulls. I get the boomer plight.
Yeah.
The plight of the older person out there.
Oh, I get it.
Who, who the world was a certain way for a very long time because of these individuals who have been in control, did a really good job at hiding everything they did.
Yeah.
With the propaganda systems that are there. And so to actually believe a lot of these things and to really understand what it means is to basically pull the rug out from everyone's way we actually truly think the world works. And then to tap into the magical understanding of the world, that reality is very pliable, but that doesn't mean that there's not some kind of objective truth out there that we're all leading ourselves towards. It's not a postmodern, nonsensical, witchy, woo-woo bullshit reality where it's like, my reality is this, or it's my truth, or, it's like how I believe it's manifesting, or it's the secret. There's real laws to these things. And, once you tap into those, then we can truly understand that magic is for all, that there's a science and art of conformity with one's will in the world, and that, as the great saying says, I think you like this one, we take no reliance on virgin or pigeon. Our method is science. Our aim is religion. And so, Nick, as always, I love doing this with you. What do you got going on?
Not much. I'm recording right now. I just recorded the thing on sleep paralysis.
Nice.
Yeah. I was trying to show a little bit more of the science behind it, because that seems to be another thing that I've known that has kind of caught on with the whole demons and satanic panic.
Yeah.
That sleep paralysis is people getting attacked by demons. And there's actually like reasons why your body has those.
Oh, interesting.
Those things. Oh, yeah.
That's great.
No, I mean, I'm sure there might be some weird shit also going on, but yeah, it's just another thing that I've noticed. Has been talked about excessively as demonic, and I wanted to cover it because I thought that it was maybe a little bit less demonic and a little bit more science actually explaining it. And I think it's just really, again, it could even just show how the brain and the body and the mind, the connection that they have, and how things can get weird when they go off.
Oh yeah.
So I got that. I'm going to record part 2 of the eyeball thing, that whole thing I was telling you about how it should be affected.
Great.
I'm working on that, and then I got something else that a few things that I'm thinking about doing.
Great. Yeah, everyone head on over to the Occult Rejects and check out all of Nick's work. It's brilliant and beautiful, and he's doing good work there. He's in the trenches, getting interviewing all the people.
Oh yeah, that's next week we got Mitch Horowitz coming on,
and that's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah. I have
his new book
this weekend, but yeah, next Monday or Tuesday, I think the 7th.
Yeah,
him coming on. Yep.
Great, and that's been fantastic. And I'll be there to chat with Mitch, see what he knows about all this crazy world we live in. It's 4th of July weekend. Everybody stay safe. Hopefully going to be dropping. So I got these 3 in the books right now, as in Lon Milo's interview I've been talking about. That's going to come out. I am going to get that out there. Mark Booth and the Secret History of the Universe. Amazing book, amazing man. I think that he has helped change my world, as in helped me understand this strange place, as well as Alan Chapman. If you know him and his work out there, he's also another brilliant sovereign magician trying to take Crowley's work to the next level. I'm trying to get it set up so I can interview Frater. You had him on, Aleph Thayer. He seems like a wonderful man.
Yeah.
He's in Australia, so it's hard for me to figure out time.
True. Yeah, that was
especially because I have a lot of night stuff going on, and so we're getting that figured out.
You'll have to do either your morning and his night, or your night and his morning.
It's going to be my night, and it'll be good. So I think next week I'm going to try to get him on for an interview, as well as doing work with Palinode Productions and Danielle. We're doing something called Filmosophy, which is fun, and and we broke down Begonia, and I got lots of opinions on that movie, as well as all my opinions coming out soon. I'm going to be doing some music reviews, so breaking down A Perfect Circle and Tool. Me and Frater RC are going to be doing a Reverend Maynard James Keenan breakdown, so him and I are going to be talking and doing a bunch of stuff like that.
That is fucking awesome.
Yeah, so I'm excited with that because he's hilarious and awesome in and of himself.
Yeah, he's a cool dude, actually.
So with that, I hope everyone, again, if you're going to get sick of me saying it, it's just like with my students when I'm training, it's all like, I'm just continue to like root yourself, ground yourself. Your power comes from the earth and the floor and your structure. Keep your elbow in if you're doing Wing Chun. Keep your legs out there and ground yourself if you're doing Tai Chi. If you're not grounding yourself in this world, somebody's trying to off-kilter you for them. Get in touch with your own nervous system. Realize the models of reality that you're viewing the world through aren't reality itself, but just an interpretation of it, and that you are not separate from the mind body, but it's exactly the way it is embodied within this world. It's very important. Your head is much larger than you can ever imagine. And it's fantastic. This has been a fun time, and it's only going to get crazier. And if you haven't, subscribe, like, and share, and we will make sure that we see you next time. Goodbye.